Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday, 4:30, right on the dot, our PTN Live daily update. And we're going to be breaking down what this guy's been going through for the last couple of days. A lot of shakeups within the Arkansas men's basketball team that we are going to break down exactly who's going, who's leaving, if you've missed the news, what it entails. Because it's been a lot over the last couple of days. Usually you don't really see this much movement within a program so quickly. But we'll dive into it first. Let me say hi to Michael, Anthony. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys being here. Let me know where you're watching from. Any questions you guys have, because there's a lot we're going to cover. We'll touch on a little bit of baseball, but we'll do most of that tomorrow if you're going to look for baseball. Today we're going to be talking about some basketball, men's basketballs. They've had a lot of roster changes. The big one is that they've added a new assistant. They've obviously lost a couple of assistants, but they have added on one named Gus Arjunal. He was on the staff at Nevada while Eric Musselman was there. Ended up now going on to this staff, to Cal State Fullerton. Actually interviewed for that Nevada job after Muss left. Ended up becoming an associate head coach at Cal State Fullerton. Been there for a long time. Stayed in touch with Musselman weekly. Now comes from Nevada, Cal State, and joining on to Musselman's staff to fill some holes. Tony watching from Alma. How you doing, Tony? Leland. Hey, Leland. Recognize you from a couple streams before from Louisiana. Becky from Hot Springs. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. I appreciate it. So this is something Gus was really excited about this opportunity. We spoke with him. Our media, he had a sit down with the media this morning that we got to talk with him. That is on, the full interview is on Pig Trail Nation right now. You can go and look and view it. But we do have a little clip we're going to play for you guys here in just a little bit. Obviously taking over for Corey Williams, who went to Texas Tech. This is that assistant Phil. So that's that. They're adding some coaches on. Obviously, we're going to talk about David Patrick, associate head coach at Arkansas, leaving for Oklahoma. We'll break that down too as we get through everybody. B. Claire on the Hill, Anthony from Althemer. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Bob from Rosebud. Let me know how you say that, Anthony. Christopher, watch from East Fayetteville, right here in town. Charlie from Mount Ida. Carl, Don, Jimmy. Oh my gosh, thank you, Melvin from Alabama. Appreciate it. Barry, Ricky. Well, we got a lot of people in here. I'll say hi to all you guys. Keep commenting. I'll catch up with it. You guys are doing awesome. I always like to play a game of who's the farthest. That's always a fun one. Who's watching from the farthest? We got Barry from Jonesboro, Ricky from Bentonville. It's pretty close. Evan from Monroe, Aaron, Steve, Lance, John, Keith. Thank you, guys. A lot of Alabama people tuning in. There's a big event going on in Alabama right now. You see Charles Barkley golfing, and actually on the Paul Feinbaum show, they just had a famous golfer. I wonder if anyone can name who it was in Razorback history. Shouldn't be a hard one. Aaron, thank you for tuning in. Priscilla from Georgia. That's a far one. Hi, Steve. How you doing? Okay, let's break this down, everyone. I'm going to go to some bullet points for everyone joining in because we got a lot of people, and I made this little list because we got a lot of stuff to keep track of. Arkansas basketball. Big shakeups within the program. A lot of players and coaches kind of moving around. Associate head coach David Patrick leaving for the similar role, associate head coach for Oklahoma. That's a big loss for the Razorbacks. Obviously, David Patrick's going to coach in the Olympics. Going to be an assistant for Team Australia. He's a big recruiter, and you'll see that fourth bullet point. We'll get to how his recruiting has affected Arkansas in that fourth one right there. He's going to Oklahoma for a lateral move, going to move from Arkansas to the Sooners. That's a big loss. But in that Corey Williams, when he left for Texas Tech, Gus Arjunal joining the Razorback staff from Cal State Fullerton. We're going to hear from him in just a minute once we get through all of this. Bebe Iola entering the transfer portal for Arkansas, a guy you really never really saw play, but that frees up a scholarship for Eric Musselman to now work with. Got 2 in the bag that he can now bring people on. Bebe leaving the program, entering the transfer portal. That's the 3rd Razorback to do so. Ethan Henderson, Desi Sills, guys like that also entering the transfer portal. So Arkansas, of course, bringing in some amazing transfers, and Audie's Tony, Chris Likes, Stanley Amude. There's a lot of people. These scholarships, if you enter the transfer portal, I'm sure Muss has some plans for what to do with those 2 that he has left. And Arkansas commit a Cole. Oh my gosh, Tara told me how to say this. The other, I think it's Wayne, right? Wayne. I don't know if you can hear the background. I always get confused with some names, but a Cole Wayne was committed to Arkansas, granted a release from the Razorbacks. This guy has followed David Patrick around to all of his stops along the coaching path. He was committed to TCU when Patrick was there, committed to Arkansas while he was there. He's just been following him around. This is a guy that Cole wants to play for. David Patrick now leaving to Oklahoma, so maybe that's where Cole Wayne goes. But right now, granted a release from Arkansas, so the Razorbacks losing a pretty good commit. But yeah, this has all happened, guys, and these 4 things is a lot of shakeups just to start your week, right? It's only Wednesday. We're halfway through. I mean, I might have to make another slide by the end of the week if this is the pace we got to keep up with. But let's go through some other people as everyone joining in. This is the big shakeup. This is what we're talking about, Arkansas basketball. Just, this happens in the offseason. This happens when you're a successful program, right? Your coaches are going to go on to do other things. You're going to bring in talented transfers. You're going to lose a few. You're going to lose a few guys that you recruited on before. That's just the nature of the beast when you're successful. That's a hard thing to do. Now, the best thing is can you keep it up? That's the hard thing to do as well, is can you persevere through all these changes, because the best programs don't miss a beat. So, Aaron, how you doing? Thomas from Fayetteville. Billy from Russellville. Jeremy from the gas station down the street. All right. Hey, if you're driving, Jeremy, audio only. Don't look at the video, man. Jeff from Georgia, another Georgia one. Thomas, how you doing? Anthony, all-timer. Oh, really? Okay, Anthony, thank you. Now I'm going to remember that. All-timer. Like that town name. But everyone, so big shakeups. I told you we're going to hear from Gus Arjunal. Let's play a little clip of what he's experienced just knowing Eric Musselman from his days in Nevada with him on the staff. Oh, queued up the wrong thing. Here we go.
What you have to do is you have to try to match that. And I think I said this yesterday. He does more in one day or probably in the mid-morning than most of us do in a month. So you have to buckle up and hop on here and be ready to go. But I think the number one thing is understanding that he gives us a blueprint just like his players.
Giving the coaches a blueprint just like his players. That's a pretty cool thing to kind of hear from Gus, is that, maybe we're molding coaches here more so than we're just molding players as well. And that's why we're seeing some going on to new opportunities like David Patrick as he's going to Oklahoma. So while you gain Gus Arjunal from Cal State Fullerton, going from an associate head coach there to now rejoining Eric Musselman on the staff as an assistant, kind of reuniting them from their Wolfpack days. They lose David Patrick, as we mentioned, such a big coach for this team, huge in recruiting, had a lot of ties, big on the international stage, and a guy that really knew how to recruit as a Razorback. Short time spent here, right? Wish he could keep, but he's moving to be an associate head coach at Oklahoma. That's the big news, and we've already seen a recruit kind of probably going to follow him because he's followed him every step of the way, and it's so. You're gonna lose some of your recruiting there, and that's, I'm sure Eric Musselman's not is going to bring in just another really good recruiter, because it was something that Eric Musselman talked about when he was interviewing for coaching jobs in the college levels, that people didn't know if he could recruit, and that was the one big knock against him. Some athletic directors said that they didn't know if he could translate to the NBA in college because he didn't have that recruiting skill, and that's something that he's proved a lot of people wrong, that he can get some of the best recruits in the country. I mean, you look at guys like Justin Smith and Jalen Tate. Now you look at this recruiting class he's bringing in with Audie's Tony and Chris Likes. These guys are top 25, top 15 type of guys. Stanley Amude in that conversation. So recruiting is going to be a big focus in this position, just as it was for David Patrick, I assume, just to keep those ties strong, because that's what builds a great program. So David Patrick leaving Arkansas basketball for Oklahoma to be the associate head coach there. How you doing, Travis? Welcome back in. I remember you from a few streams ago, too, always tuning in. I know we have a little group that always likes to comment. Jonathan from Paragould. Thank you, Jonathan. How are you today? And Trina from Benton. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is a lot. We usually don't have this many. I know we always have. And you know what? I want to take 1 second just to say thank you guys, because I know we have a little group that always likes to come in and chat. Sometimes we don't get a ton of views. Sometimes we get a lot of people in like this chiming in. Want to say thank you. I tallied up all the views that we had this last week doing these Facebook Lives. We had almost 25,000 views on these little 15, 20-minute shows that we do. I know not everyone catches them live, so if you are catching them after, if you're watching this when it is on Facebook after it's live, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. It's always so fun to hear from you guys. I read all the comments, even after the stream has ended. If you comment 7 hours later, I'm probably going to read it, so it was just something that it was really nice to see that. I know we have a group of people that always tunes in, but all these new faces I'm seeing, I try to remember everybody's name. So I'm appreciative of you guys commenting. And if you just like to sit back and watch, you don't want to comment too, hey, thank you for tuning in. It's just awesome that we're building a little community here. Guys like Corey, Lori, how you guys doing? Thank you everyone for watching live and for also watching after the fact. So I really do appreciate it. One thing I do want to say is as we kind of do these more daily is, what do you guys want to see more of? What are topics we're not covering that you want to hear about? Questions you have, ask them in. I know we're talking all about our hometowns in here, but if you guys have a question about Arkansas basketball, you can queue it up and we can all talk about it as a group. I remember we had a trivia the other week, and we had William, one of our viewers, just asking trivia, and everyone we had a really good time seeing the comments, and I actually got a few of them wrong. So everyone, thank you so much. But let's get right back into this. Where you can see this, if it's not on Facebook and you miss this stream on a day, you can always go right to hogville.net. Now, if you want to hear from like Gus Arjunal, his full press conference. We talked to golf today. We talked to track today. All these teams having so much success, right? You can catch all of our stories and all of these press conferences, like that video we just played of Gus. You can view that whole 24-minute press conference and hear from his time in Nevada with Eric Musselman, hear how excited he is to be a part of this Arkansas basketball program right on hogville.net. That's the app. And then when we have some big breaking news, maybe you're at work and we're going to tune on to a Facebook Live and there's some breaking news you don't know about, submit right now to the notifications on that app, and whenever we have some big news, I'll press a little button. We'll send you a push notification telling you we're talking about something pretty important. You might want to tune in. Brian saying, I just want to see some more wins. I think you're going to get that, Brian. Out of across of all these Razorback teams, I think you're guaranteed a lot more wins. So we will certainly be talking about a lot of wins, and let's just briefly touch on something where we're hoping we're going to get 3 from, right, is Arkansas's baseball's upcoming series with Georgia starting Friday at home. Keith saying 3 open scholarships, right? Oh, I think it is 3. They had 2 on the open, and then I'll double check that, Keith, but you might be right. It might be 2. I think it's 2. But I'll double check that if it's 3 open scholarships. Off the top of my head, it was 2. Jesse saying, was this a shock with this guy leaving for Oklahoma? Jesse, that's a great question. I'm waiting to hear kind of if Oklahoma has a press conference with David Patrick and his thoughts. We spoke to him maybe a month ago, kind of previewing when he got named to the Australia's Olympic team and just what that kind of meant to him. And he talked about how that affects recruiting of, hey, I can go tell you that I'm coaching for Arkansas, but I'm also coaching the Olympics against LeBron James and James Harden, and what that means to a high school kid to have that level of coaching at the Razorbacks. It's always tough to gauge if what a coach is thinking. They always have dream jobs. Let's like, it's funny. I have the Musselman contract. We keep this Musselman contract on this desk in case we ever need it. I have all the papers right here of his contract, and there's a clause in there that he has a $0 buyout for San Diego, his alma mater, if he ever decides he wants to coach there. It's a nice nod for his alma mater, but there are coaches that have those schools where they just, if that opportunity comes up, they want to be there. I'm not sure if Oklahoma is the #1 thing for David Patrick. I have only really spoken to him one time or listened to a couple interviews. So Am I shocked? It's just with a program that's so successful, you're bound to have people moving. A lateral move, maybe it's a little more surprising than if you were to go get a head coaching job somewhere else, and kind of move up the ranks. A lateral move might be the little bit surprising there, but Oklahoma is still a great program as well. So I know Razorback fans, it's always hard in this area, but you always wish someone the best of luck in their career, because it's what's right for them. So maybe there was a little shock, Jesse, but hopefully a Razorback fan, you want to be able to get a recruiter that's as good as David Patrick into your program. Madeline, how are you? Charles, thank you for joining us. Glenn, big shout out to women's softball. Yeah, right. 2021 regular season SEC champs, the first time. That's a huge shout out, Glenn. I mean, we've talked about softball a little bit, and we're going to talk about them tomorrow as well. That'll be a focus on tomorrow's Facebook Live. We're going to do that one about 12:30 Central Time, I'm thinking, Glenn, and we'll have a bunch of shout outs. They've been playing so good. Just recently, Mary Half and Braxton Burnside named to the USA Softball Player of the Year. They're top 10 finalists for that. So that's really cool. So shout out to Mary Half, a pitcher, and Braxton Burnside, an infielder, for being named to that top 10 finalist list for USA Softball Player of the Year. So there's your big shout out for now. We'll have more of them on tomorrow. But yeah, softball team doing some amazing things. And, you know, the golf team was on Zoom today and just talked about the success of the program in general, about how much they've never seen really a spring like this where every team is just doing so well, right? And they have a texting chain between the coaches where they're, you know, they were congratulating Courtney Deifel on their regular season title win. It just seems like every coach is just really rooting for the other. That's what you should have, right? Great synergy within a program, and it's really easy when everyone is just doing really awesome, right? So yeah, women's softball, what a season for them, and not done yet, right? We got regionals, we got shot at Oklahoma City to go to the College World Series. Taylor saying, could all of this movement be indicative of something sour within the program, or do you think this is the new normal? No, I don't think it's sour. You know, if you look at David Patrick released a statement saying he was thankful for his time in Arkansas, and you never really got that vibe ever that there's sourness within this program. I think, Taylor, it's more so, I wouldn't even call it a new normal, because this is just what happens, right? When it's kind of like when you're playing for a powerhouse. I don't want to, you know, I'll say Kentucky. I know you guys won't like to hear it, but you have all these one and dones, right? They come into Kentucky, they play a year, and then they're out. That's kind of always been the normal. And that's the same for coaches too. They bounce around a ton, right? If you have success at a program, it is the normal to kind of keep moving and finding where you can kind of shuffle to go where you want in your career. Every coach, I think, has an area of where they want to be, and the steps to get there may confuse us because we're not in the business, but I don't think it's anything sour, Taylor. I think it's just the nature of the beast when it comes to the world of coaching, and that's the same thing with transfers. The players have to find out where they want to go as well. You know, Bebe seeing only like a game of action. Maybe he wants to go somewhere where he can see the floor for his final season. So that's what I think about that. I don't think it's any new normal. I think it's always been the normal. Sidney Moncrief still coaching? If he's still coaching, should we go after him? I went to high school with him at the Hall High in Little Rock. You might want to tune into a podcast there, Leland. That might answer your question. Brandon, I'm from Camden, but I'm in Atlanta. Nice. Atlanta, you know, I'm trying right now to schedule a little conversation with a new Atlanta Falcon, Felipe Franks. We might have some of that later in the week. We're working on scheduling something with him. So you might be very happy to hear from the latest. Brandon, you tune in sometime later this week. You might hear from the newest Atlanta Falcon quarterback. Oh, you meant along the lines, Taylor, of the transfer rules? Yeah, that's a whole new normal. That is a whole new normal. The portal, we've seen it changing so much of how things are going. It's almost like a free agency portal for college now. It's really interesting to navigate, and the rules around it, everything is new. So if you're talking about the transfer rules, yeah, this is a whole new normal. We're still kind of experiencing it. It seems like every year there's some layer that is different of how people are using the portal, how athletes are using it, coaches. I think you're spot on the money. Transfer rules are definitely a new normal that I don't think we've all figured out yet, but it's just like free agency in the pros, I think, is the best way to describe it. So, everyone, let me just go back to this for so many people that have probably tuned in, and I know I haven't put this graphic up in a little bit. We got about 80 people. I know we've been fluctuating a little bit, but these are the coaching changes that have been happening in just the last couple of days at Arkansas basketball. David Patrick leaving for Oklahoma. Gus Arjunal joining the staff at Cal State Fullerton, kind of taking over that Corey Williams role, who left for Texas Tech. That's not on this graphic, but that's another change that happened a while ago. Bebe Iola entering the transfer portal, the third Razorback now to enter the portal. You have Desi Sills, Ethan Henderson, Sills going to Auburn, Henderson going to A&M. We'll wait to see where Iola goes, but, there's two players so far staying in the SEC. Arkansas, a commit granting a release from the Razorbacks. That's in turn probably because of the David Patrick departure to Oklahoma. That recruit's been just following him around, Cole Muane. So is the portal here to stay? Nathan says, yeah, I think it is, Nathan. To switch up everything with transferring after doing that only a couple of years ago, that would be a big undertaking. So I think the portal is kind of exactly what Taylor said. It's the new normal. And I think that's going to be something that we'll navigate in terms of like rule changes. There might be some in terms of how students can use the portal, how coaches can. But yeah, I think the portals is what is going to be in the long-term future. Glenn saying, do you think we will see our players getting paid in the near future? Yeah, right. That's already happening. Name, image, and likeness, right? These players can do that. That might, for a lot of video game fans, might bring back NCAA football for any of you guys who, if you play that, I never really did. But yeah, I think there's so many layers to that too, Glenn. Let me just come back on Cam, and that has to do with non-rev sports to rev sports, or non-Olympic sports to Olympic sports. That there's going to be disparities between football players getting paid and members of the crew team getting paid. There already is things in place and scholarships where students can get stipends, like North Dakota State. I think a football team, and I just compare this because I spent time in the FCS football realm for 3 years. That they have like a $3,500 to $3,600 stipend that they can add in before this likeness stuff happened, that these students can add into their scholarships, to their full rides, and those can be awarded to players as well. So there was already some of it happening even before this, but now to profit off name, image, likeness, yeah, that's something big. It's just going to be how these kids how they're going to use it. I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest question that's going to be asked. I know there's some rules already around what they can and cannot do, but there's going to be some creative way that these kids, I'm sure, that we haven't even thought of yet, are going to be able to use their platforms for monetary gain. So I know that's always a really hot topic debate, but that's where we're headed and that's where we are. So good question, Glenn. I know there's so many articles and stuff you can read about and opinions you can have. Train say new normal for the first time in 26 years. We're successful. Other teams want our coaches and players. Maintaining success is not easy, but when we achieve it year after year, yeah, that's the biggest deal. And that's, I think, going to be a test in this program upcoming for Arkansas basketball is, all right, you've lost a couple of pieces that were really big for you. Now you've brought in a lot of pieces that are really good too. Let's not forget they've entered 3 transfers into this. So can you bounce back when things are, the best programs are always going to be on top? There's a reason Alabama football is always on top, right? I'm sorry to bring up SEC references over and over again, but I don't think anyone's going to appreciate me saying Clemson either. So the best programs know how to navigate these waters, and Time will tell if Arkansas can do the same, but for right now, you got to be really, really, really happy with the fact that you have open scholarships. You've brought in some amazing transfers. Yeah, you've lost a coach or two and a commit, but that just gives you some open spots to now fill with some players that can really help you. So there is some wiggle room and now breathing room that Arkansas can use to their advantage as well. Guys, as we wrap this up, because we've been going for a while, thank you all for the questions. I really appreciate it. That's what I want this to be. It's kind of like a Q&A some days. I just want you to rattle off your thoughts about what's going on about the day. For those who I've maybe missed in the comments from where you're turning in, I see Mark's in here, Charles. If I missed you, I'm sorry. There are so many comments there. I appreciate it. Again, everyone who's watching now and who might be watching when this is all said and done, thank you so much for tuning in the last week. This is obviously something we're going to be doing pretty much every day to keep you guys informed with what we know and what the newest news is for Arkansas sports. But again, 25,000 people tuning in to the last week was awesome to see, and I really appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much. We will be here tomorrow about 12:30. Dave Van Horn has a press conference at 11:45 in the morning. So right when that happens, I'm going to be on that, and then I'll flip right over here, and we'll talk about baseball. We're going to do some Georgia previews against Arkansas. We'll talk about softball too. Glenn, for you to give a little more shout out to the girls softball team, 2021 SEC regular season champs. Everyone, that'll do it for this edition of Facebook Live. Thank you. Have a great day. We will see you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching this Pig Trail Nation report.